For decades, the church has pointed fingers at rock music, claiming certain songs open doors to darkness and lead youth astray. Backward masking, demonic imagery, lyrics that supposedly glorify Satan himself. Some bands laughed it off, others leaned into it, turning accusations into armor. Today, we're exploring 12 songs that religious groups have condemned as the most satanic in rock history. Whether you believe the hysteria or see it as moral panic, these tracks change the conversation about music, censorship, and the power of rebellion. Most people think of Depeche Mode as synth-pop pioneers, not satanic conspirators. But blasphemous rumors caught the attention of religious groups for questioning God's benevolence. Martin Gore wrote it after hearing about a teenage girl who survived a suicide attempt, found religion, then died in a car accident shortly after. The song's chorus suggested God has a sick sense of humor. A statement that infuriated Christian organizations. The controversy wasn't about imagery or shocking performances. It was about doubt expressed through melody, the dangerous idea that suffering might be meaningless. Religious radio stations banned it. Youth groups warned teenagers away from the band. But the song resonated precisely because it asked questions many believers secretly harbored. I expect to find Depeche Mode never claimed to be satanic. They were just honest about spiritual confusion in a way that made institutions uncomfortable. The backlash revealed something important about the satanic panic. It wasn't always about obvious devil worship. Sometimes the most threatening music was the kind that made people think critically about faith itself. Blasphemous rumors proved you didn't need pentagrams or screaming vocals to be labeled dangerous by the church.
I'm living on an endless road around the world for rock and roll.
Lemmy Kilmister never pretended to be satanic, but he loved the imagery. Hellraiser was written for the horror film of the same name, and it embraced every cliché religious groups feared. References to raising hell, defying heaven, celebrating darkness without apology. The song's driving rhythm and Lemmy's gravelly voice made it an anthem for anyone who'd been told rock music was the devil's playground. What made religious groups particularly nervous was Motorhead's massive influence. This wasn't an underground band nobody heard. This was one of rock's most respected acts delivering satanic themes directly to mainstream audiences. The fact that Lemmy wore crosses and collected Nazi memorabilia confused the narrative. Was he serious or just provocative? The answer was probably both. Hellraiser represented the rebellious heart of rock and roll. Lemmy didn't worship Satan. He worshipped freedom, excess, and the right to offend anyone who tried to control him. For religious authorities, that attitude was just as dangerous as actual devil worship, maybe more so because it was so seductive to young listeners. Brian Warner didn't just flirt with satanic imagery, he built an entire persona around it. Antichrist Superstar was both a song and an album concept that portrayed Manson as the literal enemy of Christianity, risen to destroy moral values and corrupt youth. The theatrical performances featured torn Bibles, mock crucifixions, and imagery designed specifically to horrify conservative America. Religious groups took the bait completely. Protests erupted at every tour stop. Pastors held record-burning ceremonies. Politicians called for censorship. Manson became the perfect villain for the moral majority, proof that rock music had finally crossed every line. That's what I'm talking about! But that was exactly the point. Manson understood that, in America, nothing sells better than moral outrage. The controversy obscured the actual content of the music. Beneath the shock tactics was legitimate social criticism about how religion is used to control and shame people. Antichrist Superstar argued that rejecting religious authority wasn't evil, it was liberation. The church's hysterical response only proved Manson's point about institutional power, fearing individual freedom.
What I saw that night was real and not just
666, 3 numbers from the Book of Revelation that sparked one of rock's biggest controversies. Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast was inspired by a nightmare bassist Steve Harris had after watching the horror film Damien Omen 2. The opening spoken word passage, lifted from Revelation, immediately caught religious attention. Here was a major rock band seemingly invoking the mark of the beast. Christian groups organized record burnings. Radio stations banned it. Parents were warned that the song contained hidden messages encouraging Satan worship. The irony was completely lost on critics. The song was actually told from the perspective of someone horrified by a satanic ritual, not celebrating it. Bruce Dickinson's vocals conveyed terror, not worship, but nuance didn't matter when you could point at the number 666 and declare victory. The controversy made the song Iron Maiden's biggest hit. Every protest added sales. Every sermon condemning it created new fans curious about what the fuss was about. The Number of the Beast proved that accusations of Satanism were the best marketing tool a band could have, even when the accusations were completely wrong. Slayer built their career on speed and aggression, but South of Heaven slowed things down to create something more ominous. The song described hell not as fire and brimstone, but as cold emptiness, eternal suffering without hope of redemption. Tom Araya's lyrics painted vivid pictures of damnation that religious groups found deeply disturbing, especially coming from a band that regularly used inverted crosses and pentagrams. What made Slayer particularly threatening to religious authorities was their refusal to explain or apologize. When asked if they were Satanists, the band gave vague or contradictory answers. Were they serious believers in evil or just provocateurs? The ambiguity made them more dangerous because it left interpretation open. Kids could project whatever rebellion they needed onto Slayer's music. South of Heaven represented thrash metal's dark heart. The song's slower tempo made every word more audible. Every image more vivid. There was no hiding behind speed or technical complexity. This was deliberate, calculated darkness served cold. For churches trying to protect their youth from satanic influence, Slayer was Exhibit A.
I wasn't raised in hell. I wasn't sent to Salem.
Before black metal existed as a genre, Venom created its blueprint. In League with Satan was raw, primitive, and absolutely unambiguous in its subject matter. The lyrics described making pacts with the devil, joining forces with darkness, rejecting God completely.
I am the devil's own. To the chosen willing.
Kronos bellowed the words with conviction that made religious groups wonder if this was performance or confession. Venom emerged from Newcastle, England, with an aesthetic built entirely around satanic imagery. Their logo featured a pentagram. Their album covers depicted demons and hell. Everything about the band screamed devil worship, and they never broke character to reassure concerned parents that it was just an act. That commitment to the bit made them genuinely frightening to religious authorities. In League with Satan influenced countless extreme metal bands that followed.
I'm in league with Satan. I am the devil's own.
It showed that you could go further, be more explicit, cross lines others wouldn't approach. The song wasn't subtle or metaphorical. It was a direct statement of allegiance to Satan, whether sincere or theatrical. Either way, it represented everything churches feared about rock music's trajectory. King Diamond's theatrical approach to Satanism with Merciful Fate created some of the most elaborate and controversial songs in metal history. The Oath described a ritual of dedicating oneself to Satan, complete with ceremonial details that sounded researched rather than imagined. Diamond's falsetto vocals added an otherworldly quality that made the song feel like actual black magic captured on tape. What separated Merciful Fate from other bands accused of Satanism was Diamond's genuine interest in LaVeyan Satanism. He wasn't just using imagery for shock value. He was expressing philosophical beliefs about individualism and rejecting religious authority. The Oath wasn't teenage rebellion. It was a thought-out rejection of Christian morality in favor of personal power. Religious groups recognized the difference. This wasn't kids playing dress-up. This was articulate opposition to everything they stood for. The Oath became evidence in sermons and testimonies about rock music's dangerous influence. The fact that Diamond was intelligent and well-spoken about his beliefs made him more threatening than bands who just wanted to shock. After leaving Merciful Fate, King Diamond launched a solo career built around concept albums telling horror stories. The Family Ghost came from the album Abigail, which told the story of possession and supernatural evil. Diamond's theatrical presentation, complete with elaborate stage shows featuring bones and skulls, turned his concerts into rituals that horrified religious observers. The song's narrative about a malevolent spirit tormenting a family drew from traditional horror but was delivered with such conviction that it felt like something more. Diamond's voice shifted between characters, creating a sense that multiple entities were speaking through him. For religious groups already convinced that rock music opened doors to demonic possession, this was confirmation. King Diamond represented the evolution of satanic imagery in metal. It wasn't enough to just sing about the devil. You had to create entire worlds around darkness. The Family Ghost showed how horror and Satanism could merge into sophisticated storytelling that was more disturbing than simple shock tactics. Churches found this theatrical approach particularly dangerous because it normalized darkness as entertainment. The title track from Slayer's second album opened with reversed vocals that, when played forward, said, "Join us." That detail alone was enough to send religious groups into panic. Here was proof of backward masking, the supposed technique bands used to hide satanic messages in their music. The rest of the song described hell in graphic detail, Tom Araya's vocals painting pictures of eternal torture. Hell Awaits was faster and more aggressive than anything Slayer had done before. The production was raw, almost chaotic, adding to the sense that something genuinely evil was being channeled through the music. Jeff Hanneman and Kerry King's guitar work created walls of sound that felt oppressive and claustrophobic, like being trapped in the hell the lyrics described. For churches running seminars on the dangers of rock music, Hell Awaits became required listening. They would play the reversed intro, show album covers featuring pentagrams and demons, and declare that Slayer was actively recruiting youth into Satan's army. The band never directly confirmed or denied being Satanists, letting the controversy build without interference. Judas Priest landed on this list not because of intentional satanic content, but because of a tragedy and a lawsuit. In 1985, two young men shot themselves after spending hours listening to Judas Priest, including the song "Better by You, Better Than Me." One died. The other survived with severe injuries. Their parents sued the band, claiming the song contained subliminal messages commanding listeners to commit suicide. The trial became a circus. Experts testified about backward masking and hidden messages. The prosecution claimed the phrase "do it" could be heard when the song was played in reverse. Judas Priest had to defend not just this song, but rock music's right to exist without being blamed for listener actions. The case threatened to set precedent that could destroy the industry. Judas Priest won the case. The judge ruled that even if subliminal messages existed, which was highly questionable, they would be protected as free speech. But the controversy cemented the band's place in religious groups' warnings about satanic rock. "Better By You, Better Than Me," actually a cover of a Spooky Tooth song, became forever associated with darkness and death despite having nothing to do with Satan. Modern extreme metal took satanic themes to new levels of sophistication. Behemoth's "O Father, O Satan, O Son" was not teenage rebellion, it was theological argument set to blackened death metal. Frontman Nergal studied religious texts extensively and crafted lyrics that inverted Christian symbolism with precision and intelligence. The song equated Satan with enlightenment and liberation, the father and son of humanity freed from divine tyranny. What made Behemoth particularly controversial was their visibility. They weren't underground anymore. They were touring major festivals and appearing on mainstream media. Nergal's public conflicts with Polish Catholic authorities, including legal battles over religious offense charges, kept Behemoth in headlines. "O Father, O Satan, O Son" became anthem for modern Satanism. Articulate and unapologetic, religious groups couldn't dismiss Behemoth as ignorant or simply shocking. This was educated opposition to Christianity, rooted in philosophy and presented with artistic sophistication. The song's title alone, equating Satan with both father and son, was carefully constructed blasphemy. For churches, Behemoth represented the most dangerous evolution of satanic music, intellectually armed and culturally influential. The title says it all. Highway to Hell became the ultimate symbol of rock and roll's supposed pact with Satan. Bon Scott's lyrics about living fast, partying hard, and heading toward damnation without regret struck terror into religious communities worldwide. The song celebrated everything churches condemned: excess, hedonism, and cheerful rejection of moral authority. When Scott died just months after the album's release, religious groups claimed it was divine punishment. AC/DC never claimed to be satanic. Highway to Hell was about the exhaustion of touring, the road to hell being the endless highway between gigs. But the metaphor was perfect for moral panic. Here was Australia's biggest rock band singing about hell like it was a destination they couldn't wait to reach. The music was infectious, the attitude was defiant, and millions of kids sang along without thinking about eternal consequences. The controversy made Highway to Hell one of rock's most iconic songs.
Like a wheel, gonna spend it.
Every sermon condemning it, every record burned, every youth group warning added to its legend. AC/DC proved that you didn't need to actually worship Satan to be labeled satanic. Sometimes just celebrating life without guilt was enough to be declared the devil's music. And for rock and roll, that was the highest compliment possible. Which of these songs do you think deserved the controversy? Were churches protecting youth or creating the very rebellion they feared? Share your thoughts in the comments and pass this along to anyone who still remembers when rock music felt genuinely dangerous. This was Rock Memories, where the past still plays loud.